welcome back, hope you're all well today. So today I will talk to you about the Super Famicom, the Japanese Super Nintendo, greatest console of all time and my favourite system to collect for, as I'm sure you all know. I have a small selection of games so far for this system and that will grow over time. I'm determined to get a lot more games for my favourite console of all time, and when I do I'll be showing those on my channel, so keep your eye out for that. But for the time being I do have a small selection of games in my collection so far that I've picked up. So I thought what I'd do is show you what I have so far. So let's take a look at the games in my collection. Okay guys, so first of all, just want to say that I have done some gameplays of some of the games shown in this video previously when I had my American collection. So those gameplays, there will be links down below this video in the description. So click on those if you want to see any gameplays. First up, great game, and that is Actraiser. Now this game is a part action platformer, part strategy game. In between the action platforming you have to navigate a map. Now I wasn't too certain how to control the map when I first played this, so I did get some advice from a good friend Stu, Skunkworks Zero, thank you Stu, and that helped me get through that a little bit more, because obviously being in Japanese as well makes it a little bit more difficult because there is some heavy text and I wasn't entirely sure what I was supposed to be doing. The actual action sequences, the levels themselves are really good, they're really fun, really fluid, beautiful graphics, great soundtrack. The second game is supposed to be not as good, but it is more action based. It's a normal platform action game, which is more up my street, so I will be getting that in the future. It's supposed to be really hard though. Next game from Konami, one of the best scrolling beat 'em ups on the console, Batman Returns, based around the film. Fantastic game this one, absolute classic. Really beautiful graphics, big bold sprites, really fun to play as well. You get to drive the Batmobile, you get to fight Catwoman, you get to swing around on a bat road. There's not a lot to really dislike about this game, it's just so well made. And you also get to grab two enemies and slam their heads together, and you can slam enemies at walls. It's a really good, solid scrolling beat 'em up. Definitely one that needs to be in anyone's Super Nintendo collection. Okay, this game is a game that I wasn't even aware of until I had my American collection and I came across it, and I'm really glad because it's such a fantastic title. It is Disney's Donald in Mario Mallard. Beautiful, colourful Disney platformer. I mean, Disney platformers back in the 16-bit days were really great anyway, but this is definitely one of my favourites. It's absolutely gorgeous to look at, real cartoon look to it, really solid controls, great music. Really fun, and you get a really cool outfit where you turn into a ninja and you get a bow staff that you can use to traverse between platforms. Really solid platformer, definitely one I'd recommend. Really love the box for the Super Famicom, all bright yellow, lovely image on the front there. Okay, next game is a game that most people will be aware of. Very expensive game unfortunately these days, but definitely one worth having in the collection. That is Castlevania Dracula X. Now this is the sequel, or the next one. I don't know if it's actually a sequel, it's just the next game in line after Super Castlevania 4. For me, not as good as Super Castlevania 4, much more of a fan of Super Castlevania 4. Both for nostalgic reasons, because it's the first Castlevania I ever played, but it's also a more competent game I feel. I prefer the multi-whip direction that you don't get in this game than you do get in Castlevania 4. I also think the difficulty is a little bit too high on Castlevania Dracula X, and it can be a little unfair in places and can be quite frustrating, whereas Castlevania 4 is a much more solid, well-polished platform action game in terms of it allows you to fail but get better every time you try and attempt a level. It never feels like it's beating you down, it feels like it's your mistake that makes you fail and you always want to go back and complete it, whereas Dracula X, I do feel like sometimes the game's just against you. It's still a really solid game though, and it's definitely worth its price tag. It's just unfortunate it costs so much these days. Okay, next up, a trilogy of awesome platform games, classics on the system. Donkey Kong Country, Donkey Kong Country 2, and of course Donkey Kong Country 3, or as known in Japan, Super Donkey Kong. So I think most people are aware of these games. They are absolutely brilliant platform games. Beautiful, stunning graphics for the time, but the power of the system to push out graphics like this was pretty damn impressive at the time. Now I never played these when they initially came out, so So I've only played them as an adult, and I've got to be honest, had I played these when they initially launched, I would have been blown away by them. But even as an adult, the first time I played this game, I was really shocked at how good they are in terms of the technical ability of the system and what they actually squeezed out of it. It's just brilliant. I haven't played as much of number 2 and number 3 yet. I've mainly played number 1. I've been trying to complete that one. Having a little difficulty the last few levels are quite tough. So once I've done that, I'll move on to number 2, which I've heard is supposed to be the best of the trilogy. But yeah, they are really, really, really fun games. Okay, so next one is a launch title and a classic racing game on the system, F-Zero. Really cool artwork. I love the comic book artwork on this box. So yeah, very simplistic looking game by today's standards, but it still has the wow factor with the amazing Mode 7 graphics, which I absolutely adore. That it's such a cool effect on the Super Nintendo games, and it also has one of the best soundtracks of all time. It's absolutely killer. It's a really, really fun title to play. It's just a basic racing game set in the future. So yeah, definitely one to be playing and checking out. Fortunately, the box isn't in particularly great condition, so I do need to replace that one. Next up, another scrolling beat 'em up. It is my favourite genre, so I had to get this. From Capcom, Konami, two best companies in the 16-bit era, and it is Final Fight 2. Now I do need to get Final Fight, and I'd love to get Final Fight 3 or Final Fight Tough as it's called in Japan. Unfortunately, that game is very expensive at the moment. You're talking about and if you're on a good day, if you're lucky, 150, mostly £200. So that's going to take a while to buy that game. Final Fight 2 is really good. As a standalone scrolling beat 'em up, it's a fantastic title. For me personally though, out of the Final Fight series, it's the weakest. I find it can get a little bit boring as you're playing through it. It just sort of trudges along. It looks great, sounds great, solid controls, but it just doesn't have that certain feel that a scrolling beat 'em up should have, in my opinion. At least that's what I find. And for me, the first game is better, and number 3 is the best on the system. Number 3 is fantastic and definitely deserves its price tag. It's unfortunate that it costs so bloody much, but it's a great game. But number 2 nonetheless is still cool. I always use the girl on the cover there, Maki. She's the best character in this game. She's very agile and yeah, never been a fan of Haga. He looks cool and he's a cool character. I just don't like playing with him. Okay, now we have a fantastic platform game from Sony. I really like this game a lot, and it's called Hook. This actually really impressed me back in the day. I remember seeing this at my friend's house and the graphics were stunning, but it also has one of my favourite soundtracks. It's got absolutely beautiful music. I played the American version when I had that about a year ago. Got really far into the game. One night I just sat down and started playing it. I was trying to find a game that I hadn't really put any time into. Picked up Hook, and I was amazed at how good this game actually is. I've always had a problem getting into this game due to the not the control so much, but the way the enemies were. I always found I just died too much and I couldn't really get to grips with the game. But once I did, fantastic. Really, really enjoying this game. And I do want to go back and finish this one because it's a lot of fun. Okay, this next game, sorry, I got in a bundle with Dracula X. So I haven't really played too much of it. I had a quick blast on it and it's pretty good. And it's Capcom's Magic Sword. Now I know it's got a good reputation. It's an arcade game that was ported over. I don't think the cover's very good, to be quite honest. The logo looks great, but the characters are a bit crap. Not keen on that art style. So it's a platform game, standard affair. Graphics are okay, they're not particularly outstanding for the system, but they do okay. Yeah, it seems alright, it seems quite fun so far from what I've played of it. I haven't really put a lot of time into it, so I'll do that in the future. Then we have one of my favourite platform games, brilliant game, a Mickey Mouse game, and I was going to say Castle Evolution, Jesus, no. This one is Mickey's Magical Adventure. So the Super Nintendo's Mickey Mouse game that went up against the fantastic Mega Drive Genesis game Castle Evolution, which for me is the better Mickey Mouse game. But this is really cool, beautiful, colourful Super Nintendo graphics, great boss fights. Get little outfits, you become like Magician Mickey there, you become Fireman Mickey. Really, really cool title. Great Mickey Mouse game. Some really good Mickey Mouse games in the 16-bit era. You know, this had 2 sequels as well. I've never played the 3rd one. So that'll be check back down. I played the sequel actually, I say that. I think I only played the 1st one, so the sequels do look really good. I'll be getting those. And then of course you've got Castle Evolution on the Mega Drive Genesis. You've also got Mickey Mania on both systems, which I actually really like. Great game. So there's some really good titles back then. Next game is called Ikoiri no Yusei, or it's done in the West as Operation Logic Bomb from Jalico. It's a top-down maze game where you have to find your way out and you can just shoot the hell out of everything. It's really, really fun. There is a link in the description for a gameplay of this that I did. It's a really fun title. This one's recommended to me by Cybersnake7J. So good on you, Jay, for that, because it is actually pretty decent. I was quite impressed. For years I saw this game, never knew what it was, never really paid much attention to it, and Jay was the one that said, you know, just give it a go, it's a good game, and it is. Okay, now we have another scrolling beat 'em up, first in the series of 3 games, which I personally really enjoy. They have a bad reputation, but I've always had a soft spot for this series, and it is Rushing Beat from Jalico. So there are 2 more games, Rushing Beat Run, Rushing Beat Ran, depending on who's listening on eBay as to what it's actually translated as, and Rushing Beat Shura, I think that's how you say it. In the West, they're known as Rushing Beat, Brawl Brothers, and Peacekeepers. Peacekeepers in America in particular is quite a difficult one to get hold of, especially in good shape as well. So there you go. It's definitely not one of the best scoring beat 'em ups, I ain't going to say it is, but I really like the soundtrack in this game, and there's just something about it. It's like a budget beat 'em up. But I don't know, I've just always really enjoyed this right from when it came out originally. I've always thought it was a quite a fun title. I quite like the cover as well, pretty good. Very 90s, but yeah, decent. Okay, so next up, a very famous series of games. So we have Street Fighter 2 World Warrior, absolute classic. My favourite in the series, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, with one of the best box art on any game I've ever seen in my life. It's just stunning. I think World Warrior artwork is a bit ropey, but Turbo is superb, even down to the Turbo logo. Then we have Super Street Fighter 2 The New Challengers, with Cammy looking absolutely awesome. And then we have the most amazing one, technically, for the system, which is Street Fighter 02. So I'm really glad to have all 4, because Street Fighter 2 is my favourite series of fighters across any system of all time. So World Warrior is fantastic. It does show its age because it's very limited in terms of there isn't a lot you can do with the game. It's just the first release, whereas Turbo, you've got to play as the bosses, you've got new outfits, it's obviously faster, hence the name Turbo. Turbo for me is the best version. You know, you've got new moves as well, so Chun-Li can do fireballs, as you can see there. Fantastic. Super Street Fighter 2 was the letdown for me in the series. Graphically, each game got better every time it came out. Unfortunately with Super Street Fighter 2, the audio suffered quite dramatically. The music remix is terrible, the sound effects are awful. On the first 2 games, when you do hard punch and hard kick, the sound effect really impacts and you really feel it. Super Street Fighter 2 is so weak, it sounds absolutely terrible. I'm really disappointed with that one. It has got great box art there. And you have got some of the best new characters that have been introduced into Street Fighter games in my opinion, with Cammy, DJ, Fei Long and T-Hawk. I do think that the ones they're bringing out now in Street Fighter 4 are pretty generic and crap, to be honest. Then we have Street Fighter 02, which is phenomenal, and I say on a technical level it's quite amazing that that actually was possible on the system. I don't know how they managed that. It's a really impressive title. It is famous for the fact that when the game starts, when you start a round, as soon as it says round 1, the game will freeze for a moment and then it will start. But you know, and then the technical limitations of the system, it shouldn't have really been able to push that game out anyway. So it's quite amazing they managed to do that, and just for that alone it's worth owning. So I'm really glad that we have 4 games on the Super Nintendo. You know, for me, Street Fighter 2, it always brings Super Nintendo to mind. The Mega Drive version, Genesis version, I'll be honest with you now as an adult, being objective, graphically it does look closer to the arcade. It has that more gritty arcade feel, where the Super Nintendo one is a lot more polished. I'll still say that the Super Nintendo is better because I'm a Super Nintendo fan, but I really do like the Mega Drive graphics. I don't think the audio stands up anywhere near the Super Nintendo version though. Okay, so that's those. This next game is, if you know me and you know my channel, is one of my absolute favourite games of all time, and just an absolutely astounding piece of software. Star Fox. I adore this game. It's just superb in every way. It's got one of, well in fact it's yeah, I was going to say one, I was going to say maybe the best, but it ain't far off being the best soundtrack I've ever heard. This soundtrack just makes me happy whenever I play this game. As soon as that first level starts and the music kicks in and the beat's there, and it just puts a smile on your face, it just makes you really, really happy. And it's such a solid game, and graphically, of course, they had the Super FX chip, and everybody's talked about this over the years and the technological marvel that it was. And it really was. It blew my socks off when I saw this at my friend's house. I've said before, the first time I walked into his bedroom and saw him playing this, and I was just like, my God. It was just phenomenal that it was possible to do these 3D graphics on this system. And I still think to this day that this game holds up well. Now, I'm not one of these people that has an issue with older graphics. For some reason, I can just play a game and accept it for what it is on that system and the power the system has. And I think this game looks fantastic. I think the polygons look really solid. The gameplay is bang on. It's just, I've never found a flaw in this game. I love it. Maybe Slippy, but that's the only flaw. But Star Fox is an absolute stunning game and a true classic. Okay, next up, well, you know, everybody knows what this one is, and this is the best game in the series by far. Super Mario Kart. Yes, it is. It's the best one. For me, they've never bettered this. The only one that came close was on the GBA, which is Super Circuit, which quite frankly is just a 32-bit version of this one anyway. Yeah, Mario 64 I like, Mario Kart 64, sorry, should I say, I like. It was okay, it wasn't a patch on this one. And Double Dash on the GameCube was alright, but not one of the versions that have come out since this version, for me, have ever bettered this game. It's the perfect blend of single player gameplay with excellent versus mode, and even better, it has the battle mode for local multiplayer, which quite frankly is the most genius thing they ever came up with, and why they've gotten rid of that recently and come up with that weird Mario Kart 8 version where you're not in an arena. Makes no sense at all. But yeah, I absolutely adore this game. Stunning soundtrack as well. And now of course we're on to one of the greatest games ever made for any system, bar none, Super Mario World. Amazing platformer. Oh, just knocked my games over. Amazing platformer, beautiful graphics, amazing level design. Introduce Yoshi to the world. You got the cape. There's so many hidden worlds and environments you can find in this game, and just everything about this game is spot on. Easily my favourite Mario game. It's always going to be between 3 and 4 as the best games, but for me, Mario World always just about edges out number 3. It's a very tough choice because both of the games are so well done. But yeah, I just love this. It basically took everything they learnt with Mario 3 and bettered it. Classic. Absolute classic. So now we have a shooter, and this is from a series of games that I absolutely adore as well, and it is Super R-Type. This is really cool. It's a version of R-Type 2 for the Super Nintendo. Really cool game. I really do like it. Quite tough. You can really kick your ass, especially if you lose all your weapons and you're a couple of stages in. It really does gimp you. But yeah, graphically stunning. Music is fantastic. Really nice soundtrack to this game. Controls really well. Really solid port. It's infamous for having quite a lot of slowdown, which it does. But I'll be honest, it's never really impacted my gameplay. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. But I don't mind because the game is so good and the music is excellent and the graphics are excellent. Fantastic game. So this next game, didn't know much about this, but this was recommended by Champion 2D Rob a little while ago. So I'm glad I picked this one up because Rob was right, it's a great game. It's a really cool action platform game, and it's Super Valis, or Super Valis 4 in America. Really cool game, lovely condition of the box on this one. Yeah, this is a really cool little game, this one. Something a little different when it comes to platformers. I don't believe I've done a gameplay of this, so I will have to do that at some point. But there we go, yeah, so that's Super Valis 4. And then we have an amazing Konami platform game. I love this game. And it is Tiny Toon Adventures at Buster Bust Loose. Love that artwork. This is fantastic. The graphics on this game are stunning. It's a really, really, really fun game. So, as you say, you play as Buster, and it's just a basic platform game. Really, really gorgeous to look at. You've got a bit of a Sonic situation where you can run quite quickly as well and do super jumps. It can be quite tough in places, can really challenge you, but yeah, really solid game all the way around. Love this game to bits. And the last game in my collection at the moment, another platform game, and it is Sandra's Big Adventure. So really cool little game, this one, really weird but really cool. There's a gameplay link in the description below this video, so if you want to check out what it's like. But basically you play that big ass jelly baby there with a pitchfork, and you use that to stab enemies. It's really bizarre, but it's a really cool game, and just one that I saw this when it came out originally. My friend had it on his system from Japan, and I was really intrigued by it, and it always stuck in my memory as a great game for the system. So I thought, yeah, why not? I'm going to jump on that, and I've got a copy for my system. Not an easy one to track down in Japan either. It never seems to come up on eBay that often. You only see like 1, maybe 2 copies if you're lucky at a time. Don't know why that is, but there you go. Okay guys, so there you go. That's my Super Famicom collection as of May 2015. Not massive by any means, but a good selection of games there, I think you'll agree. Some absolute classics as well. As I say, in the future I will be buying a lot more games, and I'm looking forward to expanding the collection to a reasonable level. I love the system. I think the Super Nintendo, and in particular the Super Famicom, is a fantastic console to collect for. It is quite expensive if you're going box complete, that is true, but I think it's well worth the money that you have to pay out, because the games are so well made and are so much fun, and they are completely timeless. So let me know down below guys, any memories you have of Super Nintendo and what you think of the game shown in this video as well. Thank you very much for watching as always. Please remember to like, comment, share and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.